dear sister souls. Welcome. I'm here at my beloved Mount Shasta at the top here, and I came here to listen. Came here to listen as I do when I commune with Mother Gaia. And I came here to listen specifically for guidance around these times that we're in, the planetary crisis and all of the fires. And although I've been deeply immersed in the work, in the planetary healing work, there's something massive shifting inside of me and inside of the entire field of life. And it's something so unfathomably immense that it's difficult to put into words the immensity of it all. And so I came here to listen and ask and receive the guidance of my beloved mountain on the best way to bring these new discoveries and these new openings and new awakenings that are being asked of us as feminine beings. What's the best way, the highest way to bring these forward for the benefit of all? And I think I want to start by saying that it is about this process of deep listening and letting go of all that we've perceived of until now. And that's been my continuous process throughout my journey, my personal journey of awakening, and also in the general field of this great mother healing work. It has always been and continues to be about deep listening. And in that deep listening, there's an alchemical movement that happens. By deep listening, I mean not only with our ears, but with our entire bodies. Receptive, open, without preconceptions to where she wants to take us and what she wants to show us. And so when listening to Mother Gaia deeper and deeper in these past days on what's occurring in these fires that are happening not only in the Amazon but around the world, very critical fires happening in very, very important places on her planetary body. And I think the main thing that we need to realize here as feminine beings is that, and it's a real grokking, there's a relaxation into the awareness that patriarchy still exists. Because I think sometimes in our feminine path we talk of it as something of the past and is very, very much alive and still proliferating in Gaia's planetary field. Only now it's under the guise of corporation, the corporate dominance of her planetary body. But it's the same movement. It's always been the same movement of forced suppression of the feminine body of life. And so all these fires that we're seeing are another movement of patriarchy. And this is really important for us to grok, because in order for us to get past the shock stage that most of us are in right now, the shock stage and the sort of traumatized stage of horror and fear and hopelessness. This is shock energy. We need to drop deeper than that and look at things from the bigger picture of what's happened here on Gaia's planetary field. And that bigger picture, of course, is about patriarchy, and it's been that way for the past 12,000 years, this trajectory of suppressing the feminine body of life. And what is really, really important for us, if we're going to make a difference as mystic feminine souls, as healers of life, it's important for us to go deeper than the surface, to look at the deepest underpinnings of what patriarchy actually is and does. And the truth of it is that patriarchy is not just an external movement. The suppression of the feminine body of life is a multi-dimensional movement of distorted yang imposing on the yin body of the mother, both in Gaia's planetary field and in our own feminine bodies. And so, if we're really going to shift the trajectory that's happening, what needs to be addressed from that deepest of understandings of what's actually going on. And in that place, then, we can look to the power of what is being suppressed in order to shake off that which is being sort of superimposed on the natural body of life. And I'm saying superimposed because patriarchy itself is a synthetic program. It's synthetic, it's a fabricated program, not based on any kind of reality whatsoever of the natural world. And this is something that I've come to realize over many, many tens of thousands of hours of my own personal healing work and working with other mystic souls in deepest recesses of past life healing, soul healing at the unfathomably deep levels, is that what we're under the yoke of here on Mother Gaia's body of life is inhuman. And we can see that, maybe grok that even more today as we see the inhuman acts that are happening, not only in the Amazon, but this is the same inhuman thing that's been going on for millennia. The crushing of life. Total, absolute disregard for life. This is the yoke of patriarchy. And it is inhuman. It's synthetic, it's fabricated, not based on the soul of life whatsoever. And so, when we take a look at that and we can see it and recognize it, then we can get down to the business of making a difference. And so any person or any race or any being who has been systemically oppressed needs to, if we're going to regain our power, it's actually really, really huge and important to begin to inquire into, well, what is it exactly that they're trying to suppress or oppress? What is the power that lies there that they need to dominate in such a brutal way in order to keep it down? And that's what this is all about, this turn of the wheel is all about, is us in recognizing the deepest level of our power and reclaiming it in our feminine bodies. First, can't be reclaimed in Mother Gaia's body unless we reclaim it in our feminine bodies, our human feminine bodies. And it's the power of yin. And I'm speaking to this because these patriarchal programs run so deep, have been implanted so deep into our psyche, deep into the subconscious, the unconscious, into our cellular matrices, our cellular composition, the elemental composition of our bodies, that we still haven't even with all our feminine practices, we still haven't even begun to touch on the absolutely massive, immense power of yin. The immense, ineffable power of yin is the power of dissolution. Elemental dissolution, not just dissolution in consciousness, elemental dissolution, meaning the elemental dissolution of life itself. And so when this trajectory of patriarchy first began, And again, this is around 1200, not 1200, 12,000 years ago, the time of the Great Falls when this all began. This wheel of time that we're on right now that's coming to a close began then. The very first thing they did was attack the primordial yin body of life through the feminine, through the mother, through Mother Gaia's planetary body, and through the bodies of women. And so the primordial yin, the deepest, deepest foundation of who we are as yin-based beings, as we know, is discovered and lived and awakened mainly through our wombs. And the tragedy of it is, dear sisters, is these traumas, the feminine traumas that we've endured for eons, for lifetimes, have run so deep now, lifetime after lifetime, generation after generation. These traumas have shut down the very epicenter in our body fields, in our wombs, in our cervical gateways, where this elemental power of dissolution is birthed. The very epicenter of that. And the reason why I'm saying this is because there's no mistake in that. It's been very targeted. And whether we want to believe it or not, the invitation here is to go on a deep inquiry inside of all of us and really inquire into that. What is there in that epicenter? Not only our wombs, but our cervical gateways themselves, the most vulnerable places in our entire body. What is there that is so powerful that it would need to be violated to such a degree in order to shut it down? This is a very important inquiry for us all to go on in the coming days. And so this power of dissolution, of elemental dissolution, is birthed and brought forward mainly in our cervical gateways and our wombs. This power of elemental dissolution, it's a rich composting field of life. It's the composting etheric field of the divine dark mother. Her power to dissolve life, moment by moment, breath by breath. And when this power is in all balance, in its perfect divine balance, life is being birthed and dissolved moment by moment, breath by breath, like this, in breath, out breath. And we may know this intellectually from our spiritual studies, from our spiritual practice, but how many of us actually are able to live that in every moment? How many of us have actually thrown off the chains of patriarchy, embedded deeply into this exact place in our bodies, that we are able to literally dissolve our history, the chains of our traumas from past lives, from generations, in this very moment? How many of us can honestly say that we live and have awakened fully into that state of dissolution that I'm speaking of? And so, when we're looking at the gateways of Mother Gaia's planetary body of life, it's also no mistake, dear sister souls, that the Amazonia and the Amazon River are her primary gateways for elemental yin to be birthed into the planetary field and dispersed throughout the planetary field. And there's something about the soil of this forest, the deep, rich soil that's in constant composting. It's like, you know, they say there's a connection between that being a carbon sink, and I haven't put all that together yet. But there's something very important about the soils of the Amazon for the entire planet that have to do with this elemental yin composting power. And these other places, I've been looking into it energetically, these other places have a similar thing, not as big and as important, I don't know, important is the word, let's say vital, as the Amazonia, but in that area of Siberia and the Arctic and the areas of Alaska also have that same thing going on in the soils, to a lesser, not as potent degree, but a very similar thing happening in the soils, where they're like a very, very extremely potent elemental yin soil base. These are providing planetary composting of toxicity, not only on the physical level, but on the energetic level, even on the spiritual level. And it's even bigger than that, dear sisters, deeper than that. So what I've discovered in reclaiming this power within myself in recent days, still in process, but what's been being revealed is that this dissolution, this great Mother Shakti of dissolution, elemental dissolution I'm speaking of here, is the very key to releasing the bondage of time, to releasing the bondage of karma, which is also, by the way, a synthetic program, embedded in our cells and in Mother Gaia's planetary fields. The very key to dissolving that is this power of dissolution. And so many of us, as sort of part of our spiritual path, we understand that there is this movement towards releasing ourselves from the chains of karma. This elemental dissolution, the power of the great Mother Shakti of this, is the key to doing that not only in our feminine body fields, but in Mother Gaia's planetary field as a whole. The very key to it, to releasing and dissolving those mechanisms, synthetic mechanisms that have been implanted into our subconscious and unconscious bodies. And so when we begin to grok the absolute unfathomable magnitude of this, we may begin to now understand why this area of our bodies has been so targeted since the beginning of time. Because actually time as we know it and as we are sort of bound to in today's society, in today's world that we sort of live by, would not exist if this elemental dissolution was online fully in our body fields. And since we're birthing all of the children through our bodies, that gets passed down through the DNA, all of that. And so it's huge what I'm talking about here, just sisters. We're being shown the key, the very key to releasing the bondage that humanity has been under for 12,000 years now. But in order to do that, we have to be willing to see what's actually there and what has actually happened to us. We have to be willing to let go of the spiritual preconceptions, the formulas, the ways of looking at even feminine beingness that are still largely influenced by patriarchal systems. Even if we think they aren't, I can show you the programs in your body where they are. So there's sort of, if there's a fierce aspect of this, it's the fierceness is in the willingness to see what we haven't allowed or haven't been able to see until now. These are the veils the Mother is systematically opening within us in all of life here on the human plane. Though there will come a time when we won't be able to ignore it anymore. But us as mystic feminine souls, we're sort of the forerunners to this movement. And the more that we allow ourselves to see what actually exists in our own body fields, the more easier we are sort of opening those gateways of yin dissolution in our own bodies, and then also for the rest of humanity. So there's so many factors leading into what that are shaping what's happening, but at its very, very, very core, what Mother Gaia keeps guiding me to is the very basic premise of heal your body, your feminine body, and in doing so, heal the feminine body of life. And we may in our minds say, how's that going to stop the corporations and the politics from doing what they're doing? I can tell you, sisters, we have the power to do that. Once we bring the elemental yin dissolution back online in Gaia's planetary field, everything changes from that place. We can't even imagine the reality that we'll live in from that place. Because believe it or not, their stronghold on us is energetic. It may look physical from the outside, and that is absolutely true in a lot of ways, but the real stronghold is energetic. Because right now, those those politicians who are doing that, most of them were elected into office. That means human beings are voting them into office. So there's a massive place just on the basic level of consciousness and energy that even on the level of politics, of who we put in office, makes a massive difference. Makes an absolutely massive difference. And so I don't have any answers on what happens between now and then. I only follow what Mother Gaia, and I've always only followed what she has shown me to bring through moment by moment, breath by breath, based on my own healing. And even this morning, I was asking her, Mother Gaia, do I need for the next few days to focus on making sort of a more public activation, or better to focus my energies, to finish this cleaning out process that's going on inside to restore the elemental yin? What's the best use of my energies? And she gives me the answer that has always since day one been the answer. She has given me again and again and again. And that answer is, become who you are. Become who you were designed to be. First and foremost. Become how I designed you to be. And from there, you will be able to serve all of life. And so this is the bottom line message I wanted to pass on to all of you sincere, mystic, feminine souls who really deeply want to make a difference, and who you actually know when you're wired to make a difference at this deepest, most fundamental levels of healing I'm talking about. Claim your role in the collective. Claim your role as one who works at the deepest, most inner recesses of life. Reclaim your yin power, your elemental yin power, from the inside out. And watch the power that patriarchy has had, and still, on some levels, and if you don't believe me, please, I'm not asking you to believe me, I'm actually asking you to inquire inside of yourself, inside of your own body field, where those programs might still be running inside of you. Look deep into your subconscious and your unconscious. You will find things there, I promise you. So to release in whatever way, those programs are still keeping you from awakening deeply, truly, and fully embodying the absolutely massive, vital essence of elemental yin dissolution. That is the Great Mother. And allow her force, her presence, her essence of dissolution to come awake and alive and online in your feminine body field. Let yourself experience the exquisite, deeply beautiful, deeply relieving. It's a relief to ourselves to dissolve in that way. deeply relieving experience of being alive in your feminine body. So I want to invite us to take a deep breath together here. And as this transmission comes through our beloved Mount Shasta, take some deep breaths in our wombs, relaxing into our bodies. Gently breathing into our cervical gateways. And inviting Mother Gaia's primordial power of elemental dissolution to just even a little bit more than usual come alive. With our breath, through our cervical gateways, through our wombs, and into our whole bodies. Invite these elementals to dissolve away, begin their dissolution of any hidden patriarchal programs that are still running in your subconscious and unconscious realms. And just listen and breathe. Thank you so much for spending this very precious, sacred, and vital moment with me. May you rest ever deeper into the essence of your own yin elemental body. And may you allow the Great Mother's body of life to come alive inside you more than ever before in these days of planetary healing. Blessings. We awaken and heal into her love together.